Matthew Moore's Wood Studio. Today is Thursday, October 22nd, which means it's time for another weekly shop update. What's been going on? Well, this has been going on. This is the base of the Gamble House inspired coffee table. There's no such thing as a coffee table in Greene furniture because there were not coffee tables in the early 1900s. So, as I've said before, I'm kind of taking a couple tables, mixing some elements together, and creating my own coffee table. And here's where I am so far. So first off, here are the legs. Now, I released a quick tip this week about how I get my legs perfectly square as well as the exact same dimensions in both directions. So both here and here. So if you haven't seen that quick tip already, I'll have a link in the cards to that quick tip over here. And for everybody on Facebook, that will be in a link in the description as well. So here's the coffee table. The legs got milled up. The rails, both the short side and the long side, or stretcher, I guess you can call it as well, got milled up this week, as well as the bottom pieces. So right now you're looking at the coffee table and the upper rails, both the front and the back. Are they rails or stretchers? I'm not really sure. Anyways, both of them look like they're one complete piece, but they're not. It's very tight. But these are the drawer fronts for the drawers. Now, the drawers are going to be one continuous long drawer. It's not going to be two, one for each side. In traditional Greene furniture, the drawers pull through in both directions. The homes were so big that they didn't need the drawers to just go in one direction. The drawers could go in two directions. And that's what I'm going to do with this coffee table as well. Now, let me talk to you about how I got the rails to be as they are now, which is with two drawer fronts on each side, perfectly aligned. The first thing I did after milling up the fronts for thickness was I cut them wider than I needed them to be by 1/4 of an inch, because I'm using an 1/8 of an inch saw blade. And then I made two rip cuts, releasing both the bottom and the top. So there ended up being 3 long pieces. Now these 3 long pieces, I had triangles on to make sure I could put everything back together nicely. And I already pre-measured out from the center where my drawers were going to be. So that was already set up. Now the first thing I did was to cut the center column out for both parts here. And that was really important. The center defines all of my dimensions from to the right and the left. So I have to hit my lines exactly for both parts here. And then from there, well, I actually don't have to hit them perfect, to be honest with you, as long as I cut the center out and then I cut the same width on both sides, it really doesn't matter. And then from there, I was able to release the parts that will become the drawer fronts on both sides. And then with the remaining material on the edges, I put everything back together and glued the whole assembly back together. And I put some wax on the drawers themselves so that once the piece was glued together, if any glue had squeezed out into the drawers, it wouldn't stick to the drawer fronts themselves. And I could easily just push them out after a few minutes. And it worked really well. After letting those guys dry overnight, the next thing I did was to cut these parts all the length. Now, since these two are exactly matched for the center column, what I was able to do was to take some quick clamps and clamp together the two pieces after I put a triangle on saying which side was going to be the out face here and the out face here. That meant that with them clamped together, I can now cut these guys to length, measuring out from the center of the column. And after that, it's just cutting these guys to length, the sides as well as the longer stretchers on the, or rails on the bottom. And then just cutting my shoulders for my tenons, cutting tenons that are a little bit too thick, and over at the bench, just finessing everything so I get this nice, perfect fit all the way around. So that's where the coffee table is now. Now there's a lot of work left to do on the base, just a ton, which mainly consists of getting the innards for the drawers into the coffee table itself. So since I'm going to need runners and kickers, besides just building the drawers themselves, so I'm going to need to create ways to get those runners and kickers into the coffee table. And then after all of that's done, then I can start shaping the rails all the way around, both the upper and the lower, to that same cloud lift pattern you find in the rest of the Greene Gamble House furniture in the living room. My goal here is to create a set of projects that if someone wanted to do a Greene living room in their home, they'd be able to do it. So a coffee table, a rocking chair, a small side table, and an armchair so far. At some point in the future, I'll end up doing the couch, I hope, and that will be a complete set right there. But the set keeps growing, and that's my goal for my living room, and hopefully maybe for yours as well. So it's been a lot of fun this week. It's been really productive on this coffee table. I know it looks like an empty shell, which it mainly is, but we're gonna fill that up pretty soon, definitely. So keeping with tradition, I need to ask, or the new tradition at least, is a question of the week. So my question to you guys this week is, how do you fit your tenons? Not cut your tenons, but how do you fit them? So for me, when I'm doing stuff like this without using my multi-router, but I'm cutting the tenons on the table saw with a dado set, what I end up doing was taking my digital dial caliper, and with that, a shoulder plane, a chisel, a rasp, because these are round mortises and square tenons, so I gotta round the tenons off to fit into the mortises. I hand fit every single mortise and tenon joint all the way around the chair, one at a time. So tell me guys, what do you guys do? So that's it for the update this week. As always, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and hit that thumbs up button if you like the update. And if you're on Facebook, hit the like button, share it on your timeline, and like the Wood Studio page as well. And as always, guys, have a great week in the shop.